Thanks to all who have taken the time tonight to join us for one of our programs. We're very excited tonight as the Green Mountain Audubon Society to welcome Bridget Butler, who is given the second in her series of Tech Talks. We had a very successful program last week on using Merlin, and that program is actually online and ready to be viewed. It's on the YouTube channel that's associated with our website, which is greenmountainaudubon.org. The Green Mountain chapter is comprised of 3 counties, Franklin, Grand Isle, and Chittenden. And as my friend Pat says, and he couldn't be here tonight, you may not even know that you're a member, because if you get the magazine, you're automatically assigned geographically. We, however, are very, very happy to have you join us tonight. So tonight, I'm going to switch my hats and now be the master of ceremonies. We ask that if you have a question during Bridget's presentation, that you simply type it into the chat, and I will monitor those questions. Bridget will stop now and again and ask what questions we have, so that if you have a question that's germane to a point in her recent discussion, she'll be able to field that. Bridget is affectionately and legally and officially known as the Bird Diva. She is one busy bird diva, let me tell you. She oversees the Birder Broker Project in Vermont, which is helping landowners find what birds are on their land. She serves on the Vermont Birds Record Committee, and she is a proud member, as I am, of the Green Mountain Audubon chapter, one of 7 chapters in Vermont. So without any further ado, I will continue to admit some people, and we're going to start our program tonight. Take it away, Bridget. I can't wait.
Yay! All right. Again, thank you everybody for coming in on such a glorious day. Pretty amazing here in Vermont. It's in the 80s for those of you who are chiming in from elsewhere. And so it's given us kind of a bit of spring fever. So thanks for coming inside and joining me tonight to get you back outside and enjoying birds and using eBird. So last week we talked about Merlin, which is another app that's owned by, run by the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. That's free and it's global. And it's something that you can kind of have right in your pocket to be able to identify birds by sight and by sound. We talked a little bit about how it was connected to eBird and how some of the ways in which Merlin works rely on bird sightings that get entered into eBird. And so tonight we're going to talk about eBird, the app. I am going to start off by showing you some stuff online first. Just so that if you haven't already downloaded the app, you know where you can go to get it. And that being said, if you do have your phone available and you want to follow along, feel free to do that as well. You are not seeing double. There are 2 of me here on the screen. One is this is my shadow form. We were joking around that it's my shadow form, but that's where I'll be able to share my phone with you tonight so that we can work right from the app. I use an Android phone, so it might look a little bit different if you use iPhone. For those of you who are iPhone users, please just put things in the chat if you're seeing something different, and we can make sure that we address that as we go. Awesome. All right, so I'm going to start by sharing my screen here. And like Tom said, feel free to put questions in the chat as we go. And I'm going to pause every once in a while to make sure that we capture things from folks. Tom, can you just give me a heads up that you're seeing that second screen?
Yes, we are seeing the eBird mobile website.
Sweet. That's what I want. Great. So this is the landing page for, and I'm going to copy and put this in the chat, and hopefully that'll get through to everybody. This is the website for eBird Mobile, where you can learn a little bit more about the app, where you can download it as well. And so there's those 2 buttons here to be able to get the app. And it gives you a little bit of background on what the mobile app is able to do, some of the key features. We're going to go through all of these things tonight, so don't worry too much about this. It's just a great place to kind of come back to. We're going to talk a lot about how to explore eBird data like they have there. I think one of the great things is right at the bottom down here, right? There's this free eBird Essentials course. So while I'm going to try to do and cover as much as I can tonight in an hour, maybe a little bit over, I definitely can't get into all the depth and nitty gritty of this app. There's so much there to discover. I was even discovering new things as I was putting together the plan for tonight. So know that there are free eBird courses online that you can go to as well. And you've got a great community here in Vermont of folks using eBird who can help you out as well when you run into them in the field and whatnot. Okay, so there's the portal, so to speak, for how you can get more information about the app, and you can download it online. And you also know too that, right, this is another way that you can sign into your account. This is a way that you can get in and you can see all of your data. You'll notice here that this says eBird in the upper corner. There is a Vermont specific eBird. So let me see, and I might just have to, we'll just type it in here. Vermont eBird. So this just means that there's a separate portal, so to speak, for Vermont specific eBird. They all talk together, so you don't have to worry about whether the data is going to be the same in those two places or which one that you're going in through. It's just a way to kind of aggregate things in a page and support it by all of these. You can see there's all these different organizations here that kind of support the running of the Vermont specific eBird portal, and it's overseen by the Vermont Center for Eco Studies. So this is another way that you can get into your data. Unfortunately, we don't have time to do this specifically tonight. Feel free anytime you feel like you're like, oh, I have a question, I'm stuck. I'm going to put my email address in the chat as well. And you can email me and be like, I was trying to play with this. What do I need to do? Or where can I find information about this and that on the eBird website? I'm happy to answer questions. So the bulk of what we're going to do tonight is we're going to go through the app. And so for some of you, this might be review, which is great, right? Because sometimes we get a little bit rusty with it, and spring is on its way. And so we want to be able to be on top of things as much as we can. And some of this may be very new for you, which is great as well, because we would love to have you be part of this free app, global citizen science or community science project. All right, I'm gonna switch gears here, and we're gonna turn off the sharing from this Bridget. We're gonna go to the other Bridget here.
Dark Bridget.
Yeah, the shadow Bridget. Tom, do we have anything that came up as of yet?
No, one person says that perhaps the sound is breaking up, but I think it's just that person's computer. You are coming through loud and clear. Okay. So pardon me for looking down. I am looking at my phone, which is in front of me right now, and I'm going to share my screen with you. Okay, good. Now I can see. I'm going to drive all kinds of things here, and I'm going to keep the chat open because I have another link I want to share with you in a little bit. So while we go through the app, you're gonna see this weird little gray thing down at the bottom. It's gonna turn gray in a minute here when I get into the app. That's not something that you'll actually see on your screen. Down in the lower left corner near my Google Gmail, there's like a little arrow that's coming out. That's part of Zoom, so don't pay attention to that. So you can see across the top of my phone here, these are the 4 apps that I use the most when I'm out and about birding. And we talked about Merlin last week. And then tonight,
we'll talk about eBird. So I keep grabbing my mouse to click the thing on my phone, and that's not going to work. Okay, put the mouse down and use the phone. So I just tapped on the eBird app there. I'm going to go back really quick so you can see that. We'll tap that again. And this is where we get into the home screen for the app. What I'm going to try to do is give you a tour, okay, so that you can see all the parts and pieces and how they work. And what's right in the middle right now, it's kind of like a teaser. We're not going to go there yet, okay? So the main thing that we want to be able to do with eBird is to be able to share our sightings to this community science project that we can use for our own personal use as a birder to keep track of lists of birds in counties, in states, in different regions, in different countries even, right? Because it's now a global thing. And that's kind of the main reason why you go into the app. But there's all these other really cool things that the app can do that I'm going to show you as well tonight. So we're going to hold off on the main piece in the center here, and we're going to move to some of the other features that you're going to see on this page. So eBird is like I said, it's a way of gathering your sightings in one place and kind of keeping your own database. But what it also does is it allows your information to be shared with scientists all over the world, actually. So that's why we call it a community science project. And the way eBird is set up is with a bunch of different kind of, I guess, safeguards put into place to help guide you as you enter your sightings. And then on the back end, we have eBird reviewers for each of the counties that review checklists as they come in and get in touch with folks when there might be questions about different sightings. So know that you're not going to break it when you enter something that might not have been a super accurate sighting. Maybe it's something that you weren't sure about. Maybe you were using Merlin like we talked about last week, but there are things in place that can help kind of keep the quality of the data as high as possible. So you don't have to worry about breaking the data or negatively affecting somebody's scientific work, okay? All of that is taken care of by Cornell and the things that they have put into place when it comes to kind of checking out what you send in. All right, so let's start in the upper left corner. We're gonna go to those 3 little green bars in the upper left corner. This is kind of like your settings place where you've got, see, and there's settings in here as well. It's kind of like a little mini menu of a bunch of things that you can access within the app. And the first thing at the top is gonna be your handle. So when you go into eBird, and you first upload the app or you do this online, you're going to create your own account and you create a handle for yourself. Mine's Green Mountain Girl. The next thing that we want to look at, right, is I think we want to do the About eBird thing. So this piece I think is really interesting because it just gives you a little bit of feedback, some backstory about the app and how it's used and who it's managed by. It gives you some other ways to kind of hook into your own eBird data. So you can see that my eBird there is in blue and it's underlined. So that means it's like a little link that will take you somewhere else. And then also the Explore Data feature, which is one of my favorite features of this app. So a great thing to kind of just read through if you're new to eBird, short and sweet. Okay, I gotta go back to my 3 bars there, okay. The next thing, oh yeah, packs, right? So this is right at the top. So you've seen Green Mountain Girl, and then the next thing you see is packs with this little cloud and an arrow. That means you wanna download different packs. We talked about this last week. So basically what eBird is doing is it's giving you some information, some bird lists that will be specific to your region. And they'll suggest different lists or packs for you to download. So when I first set up my account, these were the ones that they suggested based on my location, right? So we have all these location features in our phones that the app is talking to. And so it's going to say, oh, you're here right now. These are the suggested packs for you. So Vermont, obviously, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, New York, and Quebec is in there as well. If I hit install, those are all the ones that I have installed, but you can also go to this all feature. So say you're traveling and you're going to go to someplace different. Maybe you're going to go to Albania or Alberta, right? There's tons of different packs here. I mean, look at how many different places they have bird lists and information and maps and all of that for that you can download and have be a part of your app. So if you're a traveling birder, this is really great. And it'll help.
I have to break in. We have a question. I think it's an Apple versus Android thing.
Yeah.
I use an Apple iPhone. The statement is, I have no bars in the upper left. That is true on Apple. If you are looking at the landing page, you'll notice that there is a navigation bar on the bottom that has Submit, Checklist, Explore, My eBird, and More under the 3 dots. So the way the iPhone is set up for that person is, don't worry about the fact that you don't have those 3 little bars in the upper left. The iPhone kind of organizes it differently, and you're able to enter and do everything the same as had you the 3 bars. Thank you.
Okay, so down across the bottom of the screen, it'll be the more section. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Great. Okay, good question, right? We're figuring out these things. This is really great too, because sometimes you're out in the field and you're birding and someone is using a different phone than you. You'll be able to help them out and kind of navigate things a little bit differently. Okay, packs, tell a friend, right? Send us feedback. I'm not going to go into those. Those seem pretty obvious. Settings is another one that you can play around with, right? So you may prefer when they give you lists of birds for a checklist, when you're going to start a checklist, you may prefer the scientific name, you may prefer the common name, you may want both together, and you get those choices. Common names, what language do you want them in? If you are the type of birder that wants to get into subspecies, you can turn that on or off. Miles, how far you've traveled, whether it's walking distance or boat or driving sometimes too, right? So miles or kilometers. Touch vibration, that has to do with haptic feedback for different gestures on the phone. And then this portal piece is really interesting. This is another way to put your data directly into whatever portal you may want to use. This is probably used a lot more by more experienced birders that might be doing different types of field work for different organizations. And so I'll show you an example here. You can see all the different portals that are already kind of specific to site, and eBird Vermont. Vermont's on here somewhere. There we go, Vermont eBird. We just named ours a little bit backwards than some of the other folks at the top. But if I scroll back here, right in the middle of the screen right now, you'll see Maine eBird, but then you'll also see Maine Bird Atlas. There's also the Israel Breeding Bird Atlas. So this is another way that eBird has advanced to be able to allow folks that are entering bird sightings to contribute to breeding bird data. And this is fairly new. It's really kind of cool that this has happened. I used it last year when I was guiding in Maine at the Acadia Birding Festival, and they asked us to use the Maine Bird Atlas portal so that we made sure that our data was going directly into that project's database. So kind of cool, just a whole other level. It's nothing that as a novice or beginner birder that you have to worry too much about. You can either have it set to eBird or you can have it set to eBird Vermont. I'm sorry, Vermont eBird. It's all going to go in the same place and it's all going to go into your account. So same thing, just kind of another neat feature. And so you know what that portal thing means in settings. All right, I'm going to go back to the main screen. And now we're going to go to the bottom. We're going to ignore all the stuff in the middle again, and we're going to go to the bottom of the screen. So the bottom menu, and it sounds like this is fairly similar for iPhone. We have these 4 and 5 with iPhone, 4 different options across the bottom. And these are the main kind of things that you'll be using eBird for. I'm going to go through 2 that are kind of just things for you to access to get different data. And so the first one that we're going to look at is the one furthest to the right, the little person. This is my eBird. And so this gives you your data, which is so cool. So you can check in every once in a while and see what your species list is like. You can see how you're doing by year and make comparisons. And let's see, and by the month as well. So that's what I have on here right now. I want to show you a couple things on this page before we leave it, okay?
Bridget, just let me jump in for you. Same thing is happening on this landing page, in that on the iPhone, we don't have the 3 green bars in the upper left, but next to the My eBird on the bottom navigation bar are the 3 dots.
Okay, 3 dots are still there again. Great. Okay, so let's see if we have these things. So I'm going to start with the little map point, like the push pin in the upper right corner. It's green with a white dot in it. So I'm going to tap that. And if you noticed before, I'm going to go back. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to tap that X to close this out and go back to the last screen. So at the top of my screen right now, it says Franklin, 209 species, 691 checklists. So that's for Franklin County, Vermont. So the way that I can change the data on this page and change the region, right? So say I want to have all my Vermont data on this page when I land on it, I'm going to go to this little map push pin in the upper right corner. All right, so now I get a bunch of different choices. So I can use the search kind of field at the top, and I can put a country, a state, or a county in there. If I'm in a location that I want my data for, I can hit that next one, current location. Then we have Vermont, United States, and the world. So you can zoom all the way out to your kind of your life list for the world, and then go back to the United States and then Vermont, and you can get smaller and more specific. And then down at the bottom, they will keep track of the ones that you use the ones that you've used recently. And then let's see, what does it do for nearby? Okay, so then nearby, these are points where I have sent in checklists from. So that first one is my address. So there, now everybody knows where I live. And then the next one is Peacham, Vermont, right? And then there's a more general one for St. Albans. So that is going to show you those points where you've submitted data previously from nearby. It's really interesting that Peacham's there because I'm not really close to Peacham right now. All right, we'll go back to recent. So I'll show you an example of this. I'm going to go to Vermont. And so there you see my species list just changed a little bit. 232 species, 972 checklists. There's some data for this year. So for April, I've got a whopping 13 species. I got to get out there and do some more intentional eBird birding. Let's go back. Let's see what my, we'll go back to the map thing and let's do United States. I haven't done much world birding. So a little bit higher, not by much, 239. And now I'm up to like 1,000 checklists. So it's just a fun way to kind of check in and compare. I really love the visual bars, the blue bars here that show you like where you're at within a year. So if you look back at 2022 there's the number 2 species where I eBirded for the month of April, right? Or no, that was for the whole year. And then the gray bar is the number, basically how many species I saw in that year. So it gives you an idea of where you were at that point in the year and how far you got. It's kind of cool. Okay. Other things on this page that we can look at. I'm going to put this back on Vermont because that's kind of where I want it when I bird this weekend. Okay, there we go. So this I information thing where it says your species by year, if we tap that, it gives you a really great explanation here for your different totals, your totals for the time period to date. So if you get back into this page and you're like, oh, I totally forgot what Bridget said, what all these things were, then you've got that here, and it's going to break that down for you so you can remember what these little bar charts mean. Super. This is one of the things that I love about eBird is they get feedback from users and then they add different features to the app. So eBird has changed. We were talking about this as we were getting ready to join you all tonight, how much eBird has changed since it first started, even how much it's changed in the past 3 years. So they're always trying to improve upon what they already have, and they really appreciate feedback from folks on that. Okay, let's see. What do I want to do next? Oh, I want to do explore next. So we're down at the bottom, okay? So that menu bar stays there for us, and we can kind of navigate between these like 4 different things that we like to use eBird for. So now I'm going to put on that little magnifying glass that says explore. Oh, this is so fun. This is what I use eBird for the most, I think, now in my birding, is kind of using this explore feature to understand 2 things. Where am I going to find a certain species? So say I want to find something that maybe somebody, oh, I know, everybody, well, not everybody, people on the listserv, on the Vermont Bird listserv, are talking about palm warblers coming through right now. And so let's say I wanted to see where palm warblers were being reported because I want to go try to see one or hear one this weekend. We can use it for that, okay? The other thing that we can use it for is we can search hotspots, and that's what all these little pinpoints are on the map in the upper part, right? So we see the red and the blue kind of little map pinpoints, push pins, so to speak. Red means that someone has reported some birds from that particular hotspot within the past 30 days. And blue tells you that there is a hotspot there. So what is a hotspot? So a hotspot is a place that birders, the birding community or the scientific community have recognized as a great place to go birding, or it has potential for a diverse species of a diversity of species, I think is what I'm trying to say. So we can recommend hotspots to our local eBird reviewer through Vermont Center for Eco Studies, and sometimes they will pop up on the maps here. It's a really great way, especially if you're like a local conservation commission, maybe you're managing a town forest. It's a great way to attract birders to a site and get them kind of doing some work for you, right? They'll be visiting the site, reporting what they're seeing, and then you have data on that specific site. Okay, so the 2 things that we can do here, we can search for species and we can search different hotspots. And I'm going to show you how to do both of those things. So at the top, we're going to start with the top across the top. It says explore nearby. So the circle in the map that you see, so you see there's like a brighter green circle, and then it's like shaded to the outside. So that's a 30-mile circle across that. So that's why it says 30 miles at the top. And it's showing us in the red dots, sightings, places where there have been sightings, people reporting birds in the past 30 days, and it's staying within the region of Franklin County, Vermont, okay? The edit in the upper right corner, the green button there, that will allow you to change all of those parameters. So this is just like the, what was I showing you before? And now I can't remember what it was, where we were, oh yeah, it was my bird list, right? And we were picking Vermont, or we were picking the world, or we were picking down to county. We can do that same thing here. So at the top, we can change Franklin. I just tapped on Franklin. I'm going to do that again. So I just tapped on the word Franklin, US, and I can change where I want that circle to kind of zoom in on, okay? and I can put a place, I can use my current location, or I can go back into the map and select from the map. We can also just do region. So we could put something in for the whole region, and then that radius circle goes away, and it's going to kind of zoom out and get a bigger picture. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to tap Vermont. There we go. And now we get to change the time period. So this is great if you are, let's say you're going birding this weekend, you have a couple sites that you're curious about going to, or you want to find a particular bird species. You might want to find sightings, things that have been reported within the past week. So we would go from 30 days down to 7 days. And I keep trying to use my mouse. I gotta stop doing that and go back to my phone. So we could put it for 7 days, we could put it for 3 days, we could put it for 1. So those are all the time periods that you can choose from there. This last piece here is if we're searching by species. And so say we want to find target species, those are the species of birds that you don't have as part of your life list that is in eBird right now. So eBird's going to tell you, what have you not seen yet this year? And these are species that you could look for. That's what that target thing means. Okay, I'm going to pause here. Check in with Tom.
Well, I think you are just leading us all the way through it. And right now there are no questions in the chat.
Great. Going back. Okay, so now I've kind of adjusted region and the number of days. I'm going to stick with my target species for this year. Oops, and I'm going to go back. And it should be, oh, it's not. All right, I must have hit something wrong. Let's do it again. I'm going to do region. We're going to do Vermont. And I'm missing something. Oh, I just slide it out of the way. See? Whoops. Don't tap the back button, just slide the window to the side. Okay, now look at Vermont. It's like boom, 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 boom. Hot spots everywhere. Now you can zoom in and zoom out. You've got those little, there's 3 white circles down the right-hand side under edit. So we can zoom out either with like pinched fingers right on the screen, or we can use those arrows in the circle, boop, and I can go all the way out, make the map bigger. We'll do this as well. I'm putting my fingers on the screen and kind of stretching it out. You can see where I am in St. Albans City. There's my little dot where I am. That blue dot is me. And there's St. Albans. That's, oh my gosh, that's not the town forest. That's really funny that town forest is over there. The blue dot in that green area above where my blue dot is actually Aldous Hill. And then I think the reason why it says St. Albans Town Forest is it's trying to label this other spot to the right there. Okay. All right. So we have all our hot spots. We can zoom in and out. The next layer, that circles on the right-hand side, the next one are different satellite features that you can change, you know, if you really want to be able to see. I like this one because then I can almost see the habitat type. I can see whether it's forested or if it's agricultural land. Sometimes the rivers and streams come in better on this satellite layer. So that's another thing to play around with. And then the third one is to like kind of hone you in on where you are. And so it just shifted my screen. So my dot for where I am located right now is right in the center. Okay. Now we get to play. Now that you know all the upper screen, now we're going to go to the lower part of the screen. This is where it gets really good. Okay. So on Android, and I don't know if this is true for iPhone, you can pull this bottom half of the screen up. Okay. And you have all of this other information here. So again, down below on the lower part, below the words explore on ebird.org, this is another way that you can change what they're showing you on the map based on what you need. So it may be target species, it may be the needs alert. Maybe these are ones that you haven't seen locally in this area. You can ask for rare bird alerts, and you can look at the top 100 eBirders records for that area. I don't use that much. So I'm going to push this window back down. That's something to play with later. But this is where the good stuff is. Okay. So see this bar right in the, almost in the middle, right at the bottom of the map, you have this little green field with like a shorebird's head in it. Okay. And then it says search species in this area. Remember I said there are two great things that you can do on this page. You can search for different species and you can check out different hotspots. So we're going to do search species first. Okay. So, all right. We're going to put, I'm going to put palm warbler in here. So there's a couple ways that you can search for birds. You can type the word in there. Okay. You can type the common name in there, palm warbler. Don't worry about capitalization. It'll help you out. Or this is so fun. If you start to get into bird code, which is a 4-letter code.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Oh, it's so fun.
Yeah.
It's a shortcut. So palm warbler, PAWA. So you'll see the pattern here is the first 2 letters of the first part of the common name and the first 2 letters of the first part of the, or the second part of the common name, right? PAWA, palm warbler, okay? And that brings you to it really quickly. So as you learn bird codes, this is a great shortcut because sometimes you're out there, especially in the wintertime, and I'm like, I can't type it all out. So I'm just gonna put the bird code in. And a lot of times if you just get close, you'll be good. All right, I'm gonna hit the, now I'm gonna tap palm warbler. Ooh, do you see what happened to the map? It shrunk back, kind of zoomed out, and now it's giving me all the spots where palm warbler has been reported into eBird in the past 30 days in the state of Vermont. And look, there's a list of locations. What? Perfect. Except for that one that says my yard. You may not be able to go to that place. That might be somebody's backyard. I have a feeling. But there's other places here. Is it yours, Tom?
No, but that's, so I would just say to people, just don't worry about that being your own yard, because I'm following you along in Chittenden County and it says my yard. It just means that somebody was so uncreative that they had to put their location in as my yard. How possessive.
Yeah, and we'll and that protects, right? I didn't do that when I put sightings in for my yard. I put 7 Quinton Court. Great, now everybody knows where I live. But my yard is like Tom said, that's what somebody named the site, and we'll talk about this in a few minutes for the spot that they are in. Okay. Made their sightings in. But here's your list of places where you could go. Bristol Pond Fishing Access. Awesome. That's where I'm going to go hang out and see if I can find a palm warbler. And you've got the map to do that. Okay. Let's go back here. So searching for species, that's one thing that you can do. And then if you tap the green bar where the shorebird head is in the white circle, it changes this field. Okay, now we have like a little map pinpoint and it says search hotspots in this area, okay? So I could tap that, and there are basically, because we're in Vermont right now, that's what my screen is set to. It's gonna give me all of the hotspots in Vermont. And maybe I heard about the Robert Frost Trail. There it is. That's a spot that I want to go to. I hear it's really a beautiful trail and it's accessible, which means if you use a wheelchair, it might be a good place for you to go birding. Awesome. So this is another way that you can use it. I love using this because when I go someplace birding, it's a way to prime myself for what is possible when I get there. So here on the screen, you've got a little map at the top for where the Robert Frost Trail is. And the green bar here that says 58 miles, that's telling me it's 58 miles from where I am right now. And if you tap that, it'll take you 2 directions so that you can get there, right? it's telling us the species observed for all time. That's the list for that site. It's going to tell you what's likely right now for this time of year. And it's going to tell you 15 is the number of species that have been seen in the last 30 days. Okay, this is where it gets good. There's a lot of richness, like I said, within this app. So now down below, we can scroll through and we can look at this list of birds. What we have with each bird is basically a histogram that takes you through the year, that tells you when that bird has been reported throughout the year. So those are months of the year. January, you say J, F, M, A. So we have January, February, March, April, May. When those boxes start to get shaded in blue, that means there's a number of reports from that particular time period in that month for that species. So right now, Canada goose has not been reported in the past 30 days at the Robert Frost.
We can't see the bars. It just must be a display thing. So if you choose one of them, maybe the bars will be totally visible.
So you're not seeing like
you're seeing only the upper 1/8 of the bars for those first 3 species.
Right. Okay, I guess I'm confused on what you're...
Well, in other words, pick one of them and let's see if the Zoom displays the whole bar chart for any one species, because I'm not seeing it right now. I'm seeing just a tiny little bit of the horizontal bar chart for every species, but not the full bar chart.
Huh. Nope, it's not. So it's not gonna... I tried to tap on Canada goose and it doesn't.
Okay.
It doesn't give me any more. Okay, so let's move on then from the... Can you see Canada goose and the red dot?
Yes.
Okay, so Canada goose and the red dot, wood duck and the red dot. We've got mallard and a red dot. I don't know. There's a trend here. So I'm thinking that maybe this place doesn't have a lot of water, right? Because red dots mean that this is an unreported species at that site. The target, the bullseye on the right, means that it's a target bird for me for this year because I haven't reported mallard yet in any of my checklists. So this is just another, it's another great way to kind of prep your brain for what's possible when you're going to different sites. All right, I'm gonna go back again. And let's see. And the data, all right, I just want to make sure. So the data that you're seeing, the numbers that you're seeing under species observed in the last 30 days are for all of these sites.
Right.
And target species. And then we have hotspots. That's the number of hotspots that there are in Vermont, because that's what we have our map set to right now. And 403 of those have been visited, and there's 902 that haven't been visited yet.
We do have a quick question, Bridget, and that's from Anne, who wants to know, what does it mean when there is a star rather than the red dot?
Oh, a star.
Back on your, when you did the hotspot, and you showed the Canada goose and the water birds, apparently there was a star.
Okay, let's see. Robert Frost Trail. Okay, I don't see a star.
Nor do I.
Okay. All right, so we'll try to pay attention to that. There are some different types of, let's see if I can pull another one up. I'm looking for another symbol that they use. Typically they use circles next to the bird names, and I'm not seeing one. Sorry, I'm scrolling fast now to see if I can find one, and I can't. Hopefully we'll have one that comes up. Another circle icon that you might see is an orange one that's half shaded. We talked about this a little bit last week. So this is an infrequent sighting. which means it has been seen there before, but it's not frequently reported. Now, there's some specifics to that. I'm going to put a link in the chat. Oh, that's really long. Okay, let's see if I can shorten that really quick. I'm just going to shorten this. So what I'm grabbing right now is a new update. So literally at the end of March, there was a new update for tips and tricks for eBird mobile. And I think it's a great thing, especially if you're a frequent eBird user already, to take a look at, because there's some new stuff here. And there is a whole section in this on understanding the colored circles next to species names and what they mean, because they're kind of specific, and sometimes there's some other things that they'll throw in, which I think we'll see in just a minute. Okay. Like I said, there's a lot of layers to this, but that's the basic gist of the Explore feature. I want to pause and make sure there aren't any other questions.
Nope, you're good.
Okay. This is one of my favorite things that I use all the time. So for example, today when I was at Sandbar, I actually looked up what had been reported at Sandbar so that I could fine tune my eye to look for those species. And this is just another way to kind of heighten your awareness of what's possible, and help you maybe just look out for those different species that might be there. Okay, let's go back to the bottom. Are you ready to go back to the bottom? This is where it gets fun. Are you ready for the submit part? Because that's where we got to go next. All right, submit. I know you've been dying for it, because this is the home page. This is what you get to see when you immediately go into the app. This is what most people are using this app for. So right at the top, we've got the date, we've got the start time. It's going to be in military hours, and you can manipulate the start time if you want. Okay, so let's say you've already been birding for 20 minutes and you haven't opened your app yet. You can make this go backwards by hitting the minus. I'm going to go back. I started at the top of the hour, so I'm going to do that. Okay, or we can go forward. Okay, all that fun stuff. Okay, whoops. There we go. So that's what the plus and minus means below the start time. Then we have record track. This is a really cool feature that is only visible to you, and it will be visible to you especially within your account when you go online. This is to record your track. So there's a couple of reasons why this is great. This tracks how far you've walked. It kind of also creates a map within your account of where you walked, which is nice for some of us who might have land or like to go off trail sometimes, and then we can see the route that we take. There is a bunch of information within eBird that we don't have time to cover that you will find through that link that I put in the chat, about how to fine tune your reports based on how you are traveling and moving. Are you going out and back and you're covering the same ground twice? You got to tweak things a little bit for that. Is it like a lollipop loop? Okay. Are you on boat? Are you on a boat? Are you in your car? So there's some different ways to play with your recorded track afterwards. That's a little bit advanced, so we won't be covering that tonight. I always like to have record track on because I like to look at where I went in my account later, and I like it to keep track for me of the distance that I covered. Okay, now we get to the good part, the giant green button. So we're going to start a checklist. Okay, we're going to do the same thing. You can see at the top that the countdown has begun. It's not really a countdown, it's a count up. So it's keeping track of how much time has passed since you started the checklist. There's also the miles covered there, and you can see it's going to stay at 0 because I'm staying at my desk right now. The little map icon in the corner, in the upper left corner, is something that you can go back to. I'm going to tap it right now because look, now you can see the top of my house. All right, so you'll be able to see your track there if you want to check in on that. And then this next part, the orange dot, is to help you locate yourself. And right now it's automatically selected. And before you submit your checklist, you have a chance to either select a hotspot or choose a name for that site. Okay, the little carrot thing, boop, just closes it out so that you can come back to it, right? So you maybe don't hit a bunch of buttons while you put your phone back in your pocket. And then we'll just go back by hitting zoom. All right, here we go. The next thing that it tells you is it is going to give you a list here of likely species based on 108 checklists from the general area that you are in. How cool is that? It is tapping into other people's information that they have submitted to eBird, and it's going to give you the best checklist possible for potential birds in your area. So this is what is possible around me right now. If I scroll down this, you'll see it goes through by family, all the different possibilities of birds here. And then we have ways to add an observation. I want to show you the bottom here before we do that. So the little comment piece, I'm going to go back so you can see that. If you go down to the bottom lower left corner, there's that little kind of talk bubble, speech bubble with a plus sign in it. This is a place where you can put comments about the whole list in general. And I really like this. So today when I was at Sandbar, I put in there that, what did I say? Oh, I said where I pulled off on the road because I wanted to be really specific about where I had been. And I think, oh, I also put some notes in there about birds that I wasn't able to count that were kind of, they were too far out on the lake and it had gotten shimmery and I wasn't able to see them. So I put some notes in there about the numbers being potentially higher for many of these species because there were some that were obscured, right? So it's a great place to put little notes for that specific checklist that can either be for you or they could be for others reading your checklist. Okay, I'm gonna hit done. All right, this one, the next little set of icons there, I think has to do with, how you want your checklist sorted, right? You can change it here for smart sort or taxonomic sort. So it's giving you a smart sort based on what's most likely possible. So they're kind of giving you a different order to that list than I actually said. I forgot this is a new feature. Normally it's taxonomic, but now they have the smarty pants thing. So that's a really great thing to use. It's going to give you the ones that are most possible for where you are. Show rarities. Yeah, maybe I want rarities to show, especially since we're in the middle of migration and just about anything's possible. Observation type. Right now it's doing automatic, which means it's like kind of guessing that you're probably going to be walking, and we'll talk about the other types that you can do in just a minute. The bird list is something specific for Champlain Valley. That's great because that's where I am. And then the portal that I'm going into is eBird. It's just going to go into my checklist. Okay, I'm going to tap back to my list here. And then this checkmark feature I really love. We'll do that in just a second because what it does is it gets you to the short list of birds that you've already entered. Okay, so here's what, yes.
Let me jump in again. I think this is the difference between Android and iPhone. On the iPhone, we have the green plus, we have the 3 bars, but there is no check mark between the 3 bars and the stop. There is a check mark as in you have on the top, but that's something else. So I don't see this check mark and I'm following you.
Okay.
It's not visible.
Okay. So that'll be interesting to see if once you've started a checklist, so to speak. Okay, great. So it'll be interesting to see because we'll come back to that check mark when we put a couple of birds in here.
Is that the thing with the short list?
Yeah.
On the iPhone, that happens once you put some observations in.
Great. Okay. There we go. We figured it out. All right. So a couple different ways that you can enter birds in here. You can use that nice bar at the top that says add observation or find, okay? And we can type something right in there. So let's say I want to do black-capped chickadee, and I just type in black, and there I have a set of birds that I can choose from that all have the word black in their common name, okay? Now I can do one of two things here. I can hit
Whoops.
3 times, 4 times, whoop, there it goes, okay? Or I can tap the word black-capped chickadee itself, and I can get into some deeper information on that bird. So this is another way to put the information in and add some details, or access the bird ID for Merlin, or do breeding codes. And let's do that. No, we'll do that right now. Okay, so this is another way that you can go in. So say, now I've seen like 6 chickadees, so I'm going to change that to 6. And I want to put some details in here that there was sets of 3 chasing each other, Okay, so now I'm getting at a little bit of behavior and maybe talking about what I was noticing about what was happening with those birds. Now, chasing tends to be a type of display that can be related to breeding. And so some folks and some projects like the Birder Broker project, we really like it if birders start to enter breeding codes as well, because it helps us better understand where birds are at in terms of breeding locations across the state. Now, this looks crazy confusing, and they changed this last year or the year before. Right, you've got a bunch of letters and different colored purple circles, and you're like, I have no idea what any of those mean. And it's like, choose a code. Here's the great thing. You tap one of those, and you're like, and it's going to give you the information. So let's tap N. Look at that. N means visiting probable nesting site. Ooh, let's go backwards, because here's the thing. The lighter purple shades are like the maybe possibly breeding. And as we get into the darker colors, those are behaviors that confirm breeding. So I'll give you an example. So we're right in the middle of the purples. Visiting a probable nesting site. We'll go back to the F. F is a flyover. So if they're just flying by, they never touch down on land, they never touch the trees, and they kept going. This isn't swallows like swooping around us. This is somebody that just kept going. That's a flyover. Okay, let's get into the dark purple. We'll do the PE. Physiological evidence. Oh, I wish I hadn't picked that one. This is the one. This is the one that a lot of ornithologists use in terms of, it's like when you're at a banding station or you're like tagging birds, and there is, it's like the brood patch, right? When ornithologist banders blow on the bird to see if the brood patch is present, then that is physiological evidence that the bird is in a state to be able to breed. Let's pick a different one. Let's pick, this one is my favorite. Carrying nesting material. I've seen a bunch of this already. It's kind of exciting, especially with, let's see, blackbirds, grackles, and crows. I've seen this with lately. So if a bird is carrying sticks or twigs or things like that, you can put that on here. So this is just a whole other layer that you can add to your birding practice, your e-birding practice. It's a richer data set. It's really kind of fun. I really enjoy using the breeding codes when I'm out, especially when I'm working with landowners. It's a really great thing to use.
Bridget, I think it bears stating that if somebody has not, because we really are getting kind of in the weeds. I think that if you have not yet used this app, don't be overwhelmed, because there are no expectations. it is not necessary as you're learning how to do your first 2 or 4 or 10 checklists that you have to worry about what's the breeding code of everything you see. So if you just put the number in for all the birds that you want to enter, and you ignore the breeding code, it is still a very valid checklist scientifically. I just wanted to add that.
I love that. That's such a good point. Like, here's another one, right? Maybe I don't even want to do the numbers. I can just put present. It was present. I saw that. Doesn't really add to the data, but if you're using eBird personally, you know, for your own personal use, and the scientific piece isn't like your intention, that's okay too, right? Presence, absence of birds is equally useful in different ways.
And you should know, Bridget, that that present function is not present on the iPhone.
Oh, bummer. Okay. All right. But you know what is present? Look, there's those little orange circles that we were talking about before.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is, again, for my yard, American black duck is infrequent within that 20-kilometer, you know, radius around where I am, which totally makes sense as I zoom out in my brain, and black-backed gull. So there's that orange example. Okay, let's go back. I'm going to hit the X in the upper right corner to get back, and then I can continue adding bird species here. Let's do mourning dove. I had like 2 of those today.
If you don't move, if you go back to just that MO, you also can tell people about the rare and the red dot.
Oh yeah, good catch, Tom. Okay, yep. So there's the red dot again, and remember, the red dot means it's unreported in that area. Okay. And that's not to, so this is the other thing that happens to birders sometimes when they're using eBird. They're like, oh, now I don't really know if I should put this in because it's a red dot, and you start to second guess yourself, right? Don't do that, right? Spend as much time as you can making the ID, right? And use Merlin to the best of your advantage, right? And then if you feel like you saw northern mockingbird, right? Even though it's unreported in the area, put that in. The eBird reviewer or the system itself will correct, right? And the eBird reviewer will reach out to you and check in with you if they need to. If not, right, it's totally possible. Here's the thing, northern mockingbird has been reported here a number of years ago, actually right across the street, because that's where I used to live, was across the street. So don't be intimidated by the red dots. Just take that into consideration, right? It may make you look a little bit longer and make sure that that northern mockingbird is actually that, and think about, oh, could this be blue jay? Could it be a shrike? Who else could it be that looks mockingbird-esque? And then the R is rare. So the next one is northern gannet. I would be really surprised if there's a northern gannet in my neighborhood. That is a more ocean dwelling bird, open ocean bird. And the R's are set by local reviewers. So that's a way to tag birds that might be a little bit rarer in the area. Just another note to you as a birder to take a second look, to deepen your observation, take a couple more notes, and make sure that you have a high confidence level in what you're seeing. One of the things that I learned from Mark Labar at Audubon, Vermont, is he got me in this habit of being like, where's my confidence level at? Is it 50% or more? Is it 50? Is it less than 50%? Then maybe I need to make a note of this bird and come back to it. Mm-hmm. And you can do that in eBird, or you could do it in a notebook. Once your confidence level gets higher, right, then you can assess your identification and decide whether or not you're going to put it into eBird. So that's another great way to kind of check yourself before you put things in. Okay, going back. All right, let's get a couple more birds in here. I know we're running up on an hour, and I want to be aware of everybody's time. So I'm going to find pileated woodpecker, because the pileated woodpecker was right outside lately. And we have a phoebe back in the neighborhood, so I'm going to do that. We're going to throw a couple of crows in there, and then the 2 3 ravens that are still in the neighborhood duking it out with the crows for a place. Okay, so let's say that this is my list. I'm gonna hit done. And look, down at the bottom, that little check mark has a number 6 by it now. Right down at the bottom, right in the middle, there's a blue number 6. And this, I love this feature because there are times when I'm creating a list and I have this big, huge list to scroll through, and I want to get back to my chickadees, and I just want to add a couple more. So what I can do is tap on that blue 6, and it brings you to your short list. And so from here, I could be like, oh, I saw 2 more mourning doves, so I'm going to tap the 2 twice. Doot, doot. Oh, that was 3 times, sorry. And add a couple more mourning doves. And from here, you can work from here as well. You can see that there's still a field there where you can enter some more birds right at the top. All right, this is where I'm going to pause, see if there are any questions.
Keep rolling.
All right. All right, so say we're done. Now we're done. There's that big stop button in the lower right corner. So I'm going to hit stop. And it's going to make sure, because it's like, are you sure? Are you done? If you leave this checklist now, eBird will stop recording your track. The rest of your data will remain editable. Are you sure you're done? And so if you're done, you're going to hit stop track. For those of you who have used eBird before, this is a great feature if you are doing an out and back route, right? So you can stop your track, but you'll still have that list open and you can still add to it. It's just not going to record the mileage that you covered going back. And so it's also a reminder to you not to necessarily double count birds. So it's another interesting feature that you can use. But if we're not worried about that, we're just going to hit stop track. Okay, now we're going to work down from the top to the bottom and complete our checklist. So the first thing in orange there that's really important is to choose your location. So I'm going to tap that. And look, it's brought me to this other map with all these little dots that are ones that I've used before for different sightings. And so I'm going to put my fingers on the screen and kind of zoom out. And I can do it this way. And I can tap one of those dots and use one of those green dots to kind of pinpoint where I am. Or I can go to this white screen at the bottom and I can pick any of those. Look at that, Peacham, Vermont keeps coming up. There's a little glitch. That's really funny. All right. I'm going to hit 7 Quinton Court because that's where I am. And then the screen changes. You can see a little shaded area around. Look at that, zooming in and out for that area. And I'm going to hit use this location. And there we go. So that orange field has changed to the top and I have my site. The next part, you'll see it says stationary. So it assumed, well, and really well, because right, my mileage didn't change at all, that I stood still the whole entire time. And so I would put this in as a stationary, but you see that little black triangle that points downward? These are all the other types of observations that you can make. Don't pay much attention to the ones below the gray line. The ones that we use the most are the 3 at the top. Either you're traveling, you're stationary, or incidental. What does that mean, Bridget? I don't get it. Tap that little gray eye. And this says observations made when birding was not your primary purpose. Examples include a flyover osprey seen while driving to work. So that's an incidental sighting. It may be the only thing that's on the checklist. You weren't birding, that wasn't your purpose. That gets at what your focus was. It was driving, which is really good. And so it kind of ranks those sightings a little bit differently, the incidental sightings. All right. If you're interested in what all these other ones are, you can just hit the little gray I button there, and that'll tell you about all those other ones. But the ones we use the most are right at the top. So stationary is what I've been doing. I'm going to go back So that one's all set. Number of observers is 1. I birded for a whole 30 minutes from my desk with you all. And now we're going to be asked this weird question. Are you submitting a complete checklist of the birds you were able to identify? What? Okay, what does that mean? Well, there's an I thing here again. Okay, so this says we want to find out whether you are reporting all the birds you were able to identify to the best of your ability. Answer yes to this question when you record every species present that you found, not just the highlights. Okay, so for the most part, you're going to answer yes to this question if your intention was to go out and record birds. You can read the rest of the explanation there, but for the most part, I just have that's yes. You have a comment section here, so you can add notes. This was I don't know, maybe you were birding with somebody else. Sometimes I put in here that I was birding with my kids because my focus is very different when I'm birding with my kids and so that's a good note for me when I go back and look through my checklist. So there's different things that you can put in the comments section. Sometimes they're for you, sometimes they can be for other people. So for example, this is a really good one. If you are birding on private property and you keep a checklist, this is a great place to say private property, right? Permission, required to bird here. That's a great type of comment to put in that spot. And there's our species list. Oh, what if we forgot a species? Like I did this morning, I submitted my checklist. I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot something. I can go in here, hit the plus sign. I forgot tree swallow when I was out this morning. And so I could go back in and change that before I submit the list. And you can do it afterwards too, which I'll show you in a second. It's pretty cool. All right, we're gonna hit submit. Dun, 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 dun. Tom, I need a drum roll. Come on. We can't hear it. There we go.
All right, that's only one hand.
Because you're holding your phone with the other one.
That's right.
Again, they want to make sure that you are reporting birds to the best of your ability, right? And so this is where you're going to answer yes. And we're going to submit that. There's your checklist is submitted. Hooray! All right. How do I get to see that afterwards? There's 2 ways that you can see that. You can go online and pull up your account, or the 4th button at the bottom, the 4th thing with the checklists. So second one from the left, we're going to hit that. So sometimes, and I'm going to start with this other thing, you see at the top there, it says not submitted or submitted. And we're on the submitted section. I'm going to go back for a minute here. So not submitted, and I don't have any right now. But if you are in a place where there isn't gosh, what am I trying to say? Wi-Fi, cellular service, right? Your checklist will get held in this place until you come back into a service area, and then you can upload them. Sometimes they upload automatically. Sometimes you have to go back in and do that. Submitted. So check this out. These are some of my checklists. There's the Quentin Court one, which I need to delete. So if I hold on that listing right at the top, that's what I just did. I just put my finger on that listing and I held it for a second. It says delete. And so you can delete that. And I will do that later. But here's my checklist from today. Yay. And so you can go back and you can look at your checklists. You can edit them. If you look all the way down at the bottom there in the green bar, there's an edit feature on the right. You can hit the eBird.org in the middle to see this report on the website. So it'll take you to the website, and you can email this to other people. So you can send it to somebody else. Let's just take a peek, because you can see in the right-hand column there, there's these little gray chat boxes. Those are from my comments. So let's look at trumpeter swan. So I observed 2. The details here were large white birds on water, long necks, black mask. Now I was eBird asked me to put more details in because it was an unreported sighting for that area. So I went back in and added those details before it would accept that sighting. So sometimes you'll get notifications like that. You just want to write some notes about your observations. Here's, this is what I wrote for ringneck duck. I had 30 of them, potentially many more just outside of my scope. Out of the view of my scope, they were tucked into an inlet to the east, obscured by trees and such. Now I put in there that I was observing them with my scope, so folks have an idea of the type of equipment I was using that gave me that field of view, right? That amount of magnification. All right. I think that's it. Number of observers, duration, great. And then when you're done, there's an arrow in the upper left that you can go back to, and you can start all over again by going back to submit. All right. Woof, not too bad. A little bit over in terms of an hour. There's still some people here.
I think it is, while people think if they have any questions to put in the chat, we also want to, at this time, let them know that if they were pleased by your presentation, which of course they were, and they want to thank the Green Mountain Audubon Society, they can go to our website and we have a little donate button, and we would appreciate your help because we use it for educational purposes such as summer camps for kids. The other thing to say to you is that this has been recorded. It'll be edited. It'll take a day or so, and then it will be online. So if you have a friend who is, because I think Bridget has done a superlative job taking us through this, and there's a lot that we didn't even get to on the website, and that's a whole other, believe it or not, 1, 2, or 3 programs. It could be a whole course. I think she did a fabulous job. However, you can let a friend know that you just saw this great Zoom and tell them that in a day or so, they'll be able to access it. So Bridget, I want to thank you. Now you're getting thank yous from the crew, okay?
Yay! Thanks, everybody.
I want to thank you on behalf of the Programs Committee of the Green Mountain Audubon Society, and let everybody know that we are getting to the end of our programs because now we're transitioning to outside activities. However, you can check out under the events tab of our calendar on our website, greenmountainaudubon.org. So without further ado, thank you. Good job. This was great. And I'm going to say to you, Bridget, thank you. This was
good night, everybody. Thanks.
And go find those swans again, please. Okay, bye. Good night, everyone. Thank you again. Enjoy the wonderful weather for the next couple of days. Good evening.